My metabolism was broken. I was eating way less and working out way more, but the scale just kept going up and up and up, kind of like my daughter's DoorDash bill. I couldn't figure out what was going on. I'd always been able to lose a few pounds by just cutting calories or stepping up my workouts, but this time, nothing that used to work was working. Welcome to Perimenopause. According to research from the North American Menopause Society, nearly 90% of us experience unwanted weight gain. Is there weight gain? Well, I guess. During perimenopause, even when our diet and exercise routine haven't changed. In today's episode, I'm peeling back the curtain on one of the most common hormone imbalances in perimenopause. How it flips our body from fat burning mode to fat storing mode, and why what used to work to lose weight suddenly doesn't. Wah, wah. So, put your phone on Do Not Disturb and delete that Food Points app while you're at it because you're going to thank me later. And I'll be back to break it all down in less than 90 seconds. Welcome to Are You There, Midlife? It's me, Monica. Hi, I'm Monica Topetti, wife, mom, health coach, and hormone imbalance survivor. And I'm on a mission to help women in midlife balance hormones naturally without drugs, doctors, or divorce. Are you tired of dealing with heavy, painful periods that look like a crime scene? Are you sick of struggling with anxiety, fatigue, or brain fog that... What was I just saying? Are you frustrated doing all the things to lose weight but still packing on pounds faster than a real housewife changes Birkins? Girl, you are in the right place. Join me each week as I spill the tea on what to expect in perimenopause and beyond. From IBS to insomnia, bloating to funky body odor, I'll unpack all the weird stuff happening inside our midlife bodies, plus give you the latest science and holistic solutions to manage it all. So ditch the Spanx and hop on board the Hot Mess Express. Let's do this. Hey, beautiful. Welcome back to the show. Okay, so I know I said last week that we were going to talk about how to get your doctor to listen to you in perimenopause. And we will. But with daylight savings time just ending, I know how that can really throw our hormones and our metabolism into a tailspin. So I thought it was the perfect time to dig into a topic that's on a lot of our minds right now. Why is it so hard to lose weight in perimenopause? This week, we're continuing our series, What I Wish I Knew at 40. Now, if you're new to the podcast, just entering perimenopause, or feel totally confused about what's happening in your body, this series is the perfect place to start. And you can catch up on this entire series by clicking the episode links in today's show notes. Today, I'm diving into why eat less, move more no longer moves the needle in perimenopause, and what's really happening behind the scenes when our weight won't budge. Because in perimenopause, it's not your willpower that's broken, it's your biology that's changing. So, if you've been doing everything right, but your metabolism has packed its bags and left the building, stay with me here, because it's time to stop guessing and start making sense of the scale again. But first, how do you know if your hormones are the real reason your weight won't budge? Well, that's exactly what I help you figure out, starting with my free hormone symptom profile assessment that you can take right now at bit.ly/take-my-hormone-quiz. First, this assessment is going to tell you if you have a hormone imbalance, even if it's not showing up in your blood work. Second, it's going to reveal which hormones are most likely driving your symptoms, so you can finally focus on what your body actually needs to heal. It's quick, it's easy, And did I mention totally free? And it's already helped more than 2,000 midlife women uncover the root cause behind their fatigue, poor sleep, slow metabolism, or weight gain. Look, you know your body. You know when something's off. So if you're ready to stop guessing and start getting answers, head to bit.ly/take my hormone quiz, or just click the link in the bottom of today's show notes. All right, let's dive in. So what is the number one hormone imbalance for women in perimenopause that hijacks your metabolism, triggers stubborn belly fat, and can keep the scale stuck? It's called estrogen dominance, and it affects nearly 50% of women over 35 in the United States. Yeah, half of us. In simple terms, estrogen dominance occurs when there's too much estrogen relative to progesterone in our body. But to really understand what's going on here, we have to look at the relationship between these two key sex hormones that are responsible for keeping our reproductive system running smoothly. Yep, these are the primary hormones that help us to get pregnant and carry a baby to term. And from the time we hit puberty and start getting our period, there's a delicate balance between these hormones that helps regulate everything from ovulation to mood to metabolism. Now, follow me here. Estrogen rises during the first half of our cycle in order to build up the uterine lining and prepare our body for ovulation. Then, after we ovulate, usually around day 14 of our cycle, progesterone starts to increase in order to stabilize the uterine lining for a possible egg, or to tell our body to start a new cycle if pregnancy doesn't happen. But once we hit our late 30s to early 40s, our bodies start quietly preparing for post-reproductive life. Now, a lot of us, we can still have babies, but biologically, our hormones start acting like this chapter is winding down. So, ovulation starts to become irregular. Progesterone starts to dip, and that can leave estrogen running the show. There are actually two types of estrogen dominance: relative and absolute. Relative estrogen dominance is when estrogen levels are normal or even slightly low, but progesterone is lower. Absolute estrogen dominance happens when there's simply too much estrogen, also known as excess estrogen, circulating in our body. More on that in a minute. Regardless of which estrogen dominance you have, the symptoms are the same: mood swings, brain fog, bloating, even issues with energy and sleep. Now, this is where things get really crazy. Estrogen's main job, biologically speaking, is to prepare our body for pregnancy by building tissue, storing fat, and holding on to nutrients. So, even though many of us are done having babies, that excess estrogen keeps sending our body the message to hold on to energy because we still might need it. That's why two things can be true at once. Even though our fertility is winding down, our unopposed or excess estrogen is still telling our body to store fat to prepare for a possible pregnancy. So let's talk about what happens when our body can't clear out all that extra estrogen. Our liver is basically our body's built-in filtration system. Its job is to process and detox anything that doesn't belong in our bloodstream, and that includes excess estrogen. Now, here's where things get tricky, because at the same time our body is preparing for post-reproductive life, a lifetime of exposure to toxins, stress, and modern living is starting to catch up to us. It's the perfect storm. Biologically, our hormones are shifting, making detoxification more difficult, while at the same time, our environment keeps piling on. In fact, by the time we hit our 30s or 40s, we've been exposed to 3 to 4 decades of everyday endocrine disrupting chemicals, and most of them hiding in plain sight. Starting with the food on our plate. From the pesticides on our produce to the hormones and antibiotics in our meat and dairy, there are more than 50 pesticide chemicals alone that can mimic estrogen and disrupt hormone balance. Then there's our diet itself, or more specifically, nutritional deficiencies. Most of us are not eating enough fiber, and fiber is crucial because it binds to the excess estrogen in our gut and helps remove it from our body. And what about the everyday products we use, like nonstick cookware, plastic water bottles and storage containers, candles with synthetic fragrances, lotions, shampoos, and cleaning supplies, many of which contain endocrine disrupting chemicals that put even more pressure on our liver. Then there are medications like hormonal birth control, antidepressants, and even some common pain relievers that contain synthetic hormones or chemicals that slow our liver's detox enzymes and make it harder for our body to clear excess hormones efficiently. Okay, ladies, this next one may be a little hard to swallow, but I gotta talk about alcohol. You know, that nightly glass or two of wine you treat yourself to after a stressful day. Well, since our liver always prioritizes the detoxification of alcohol first, because it's a poison, that means everything else, including excess estrogen, gets bumped to the back of the line. And speaking of stress, hello, midlife. When we release cortisol, our main stress hormone, our body goes into survival mode. Blood flow is redirected away from our liver and towards our muscles and brain as part of the fight or flight response. And that slows detoxification even further and puts estrogen processing on pause. The bottom line, when our liver becomes overburdened from all this buildup of chemical exposure, the excess estrogen it should be clearing up ends up recirculating right back into our bloodstream. And when that happens, our energy and our metabolism take a hit. Now, if you're a loyal podcast listener, you know the thyroid is our body's metabolic engine. But when inflammation is running high, it can interfere with the communication between our thyroid hormones and our cells. And that's when things go really, really sideways. Our thyroid makes a hormone called T4. It's basically the raw ingredient in our body that we use to convert into T3. That's the active thyroid hormone that fuels metabolism. But remember those inflammatory molecules, those cytokines I talked about earlier? Well, they block the enzymes that convert T4 into T3, essentially jamming the signal between our thyroid hormones and our cells. And why is that important? Well, because even though our thyroid may technically be making enough hormone, the message on how to use that hormone efficiently may not be getting delivered, which is why so many women, myself included, walk around exhausted, in a fog, unable to lose weight, even when we're getting plenty of sleep. I remember when I was 40 and I begged my doctor to test my hormones. He eventually ran a full set of labs, but they all came back normal. I couldn't understand it. I definitely felt like something was off, but
I decided to kind of just shrug it off. Thinking it was in my head or I was just getting older or something like that. Meanwhile, I was gaining weight like crazy and napping on my kitchen floor every day by 2 p.m. The truth is, my labs were right, but so was I. Because even though my thyroid levels were technically normal, my inflammation was hijacking my energy and my metabolism behind the scenes. Once inflammation starts slowing down your thyroid, the next domino to fall is insulin. That's the hormone that manages how our body uses sugar for energy. And this is the crushing blow to our metabolism. Because when inflammation is high, it changes how our body handles sugar. And that's a huge problem. Huge. Because instead of using sugar for energy, it stays in our bloodstream where our body stores it as fat. And over time, it throws off our energy, our appetite, and fat burning completely. This is actually a double whammy when it comes to our weight because estrogen dominance is already nudging our body to store fat. And now insulin resistance is blocking fat loss at every turn. In fact, according to research in the Journal of Clinical Endocrinology, women in perimenopause experience an average of a 30% reduction in insulin sensitivity, even when diet and activity remain unchanged. So, if you've been watching your calories and working out, but still can't get the scale to move, it's not your lack of willpower, it's your hormones. But here's some good news. Once you learn how to balance your estrogen, support your liver, and reduce that inflammation, your thyroid and insulin can go back to doing their jobs again. And that helps make weight loss possible. So there you go. Everything you need to know about the number one hormone imbalance in perimenopause and why it can make losing weight feel impossible. And speaking of weight gain, if you're ready to find out whether a hormone imbalance is behind your stubborn belly fat, slow metabolism, or a scale that just won't budge, click the link in today's show notes and take my free hormone symptom profile assessment. In just a few minutes, you'll know which hormones are driving your symptoms so you can finally stop guessing and start seeing that scale move again. Then join me back here next week for the next episode in our What I Wish I Knew at 40 series. And this one, I'm breaking down the healthy foods that could be silently sabotaging your metabolism. You won't want to miss this one. Until next week, wishing you health, happiness, and fewer hot flashes.
Hey friend, can I call you friend? Because I already feel like we're friends in my head. Did this podcast teach you something, make you laugh, or feel less like an alien? If so, I would be so incredibly grateful if you could take just 60 seconds to rate, review, and subscribe. That is the number one way you can thank me and support the show. Until next week, stay cool and keep away from sharp objects.